The date is October 21st, 2009. And 9-year-old Elizabeth Olton is sitting at her kitchen table, gently singing, annoying the absolute fork out of her older brother. But Elizabeth is about to be in a school play, and so she's really excited to practice her lines and to practice her songs, okay? As she's singing, she hears a knock at the door. She goes to open the door, and it's her friend, 6-year-old Emma, her neighborhood friend. She lives a couple doors down. Emma wants Elizabeth to come outside and play. Elizabeth's mom is like, Elizabeth, I'm cooking dinner. Dinner's gonna be in like an hour, so maybe now's not a good time. And the girls are like, please, 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 can we go play? You know how little kids are. Also, this is 2009, so I guess it's semi-safe to play outside. So her mom is like, okay, you can go and play, but only for an hour. You need to be home by 6 because dinner will be ready and it's gonna start getting dark. And Elizabeth's mom knew that she was going to make it home before 6 because Elizabeth is afraid of the dark. So 6 o'clock comes around and Elizabeth doesn't come in the door. And her mom is like, that's a little weird. She should have been here well before 6 because I told her to be home at 6 and she would never take the shortcut through the woods because she's scared. So where could she be? And when it's 6:30 and Elizabeth still isn't home, Elizabeth's mom calls Emma's grandmother. Emma lives with her grandparents. She calls her grandmother and she says, hey, can you send Elizabeth home? She was supposed to be here at 6. Actually, I'm gonna send her older brother over to you so that he can walk her home because it's getting dark. And Emma's grandmother replies with, Elizabeth was never here. That was October 21st, 2009. But let's move our story back just a little bit. Let's go back to 1994. In 1994, two people named Michelle and Caesar Bustamante, they were the type of couple that you regularly hear about in true crime stories. Michelle was an addict and Caesar was abusive. Together they had 4 children starting in 1994. Their eldest, Alyssa, they had then twin boys, and they had their youngest, Emma. In 2002, after Caesar had been sent to prison on multiple assault charges, Michelle had fallen deeper into her addiction. And her parents, her mother and father, decided to petition for custody of the children. And they won. So all 4 children move in with their grandparents, and the 3 little ones, they were all still pretty young. So they started to flourish in their newfound stability. They were no longer living in a home with an addict mother and an abusive father, or just an addict mother because the abusive father was in prison. They were living with their grandparents and they had stability. They had clean clothes. They had beds to sleep in. They were going to school regularly. They started flourishing. But that was because they were too young to really understand and remember what had been happening to them. Alyssa, the eldest, wasn't. She was old enough to remember everything. Having to quickly pack up her things and move to avoid the police after being evicted from place after place after place, hearing her parents fight regularly, and not just argue, fight. Okay, they were in here WWEing it up regularly. Finding her mother strung out, having to steal food for herself and her siblings, Alyssa was suffering from PTSD. She had been through a lot in the couple of years that she was alive. And so she was finding it hard to adjust, even after moving into a stable place with her grandparents. And when Alyssa was in middle school, she confided in her friend that she had suicidal thoughts, suicidal ideations, and also some other ones. And in 2007, she attempted suicide. And after that, her friends say she was never the same. So moving back to 2009, Alyssa is in the house when her sister goes to see if little Elizabeth wants to hang out. But what happens afterwards isn't two girls playing hopscotch in the driveway. It's not two little girls playing Barbies. It's not wholesome at all. Let's move our story back forward in time, back to 2009, after the night that Elizabeth goes missing. So in 2009, in St. Martin's, Missouri, this is where they live, there were only about 1,100 residents, and 300 or so of them showed up to look for little Elizabeth after she never showed up home. Imagine being that close to your community that a third of the residents, are showing up to look for a missing little girl. Police officers are stopping cars on the main road to ask if they've seen anything. Volunteers are knocking on door, and police also question 6-year-old Emma because, by all accounts, she's the last person to see her, right? Emma's story is simple. I went to see if she could come out to play. We played in the driveway, and at 6 o'clock, she said, I have to go, and she left. So the police are spiraling. Like, there's no sign of foul play. The little girl is saying exactly what we thought was going to happen. What if Elizabeth starts walking home and someone just snatches her off the street? Or what if she fell into a ditch somewhere and she's slowly dying and no one can find her? This is a small town, okay? This is a safe neighborhood in a small town where everyone knows each other. Things like this simply do not happen. So the FBI is called. And after pinging the last known location of Elizabeth's cell phone, volunteers are told to start canvassing the woods behind the Bustamante house. And while they canvass, police question 6-year-old Emma again. Her story stays the same. I went to see if she could come and play. We played in the driveway. And at 6 o'clock, she said, I have to go. And she left. But Emma remembers something else. That after Elizabeth left, Emma kind of like rolled into a thorn bush and she was stuck. And she was screaming for her big sister, Alyssa, to come and help her because, being in a thorn bush sucks. It sucks. You're being cut up. Every time you try to move, something else digs further into your skin. It's terrible. So she's screaming for Alyssa to come and help her get out of this thorn bush. And when Alyssa comes and pulls her out of the thorn bush, Emma looks her over and says, what's that blood stain on your pants? After Emma tells the police the story of her sister Alyssa helping her out of the thorns and seeing the blood on her pants, the police know that they need to question Alyssa. And during Alyssa's questioning, she's very calm and she's very forthcoming. She answers all of their questions with an even keel. The blood was a result of her getting her period. No big deal. And so the police don't think she's a suspect. They don't think that she has anything to do with this. She just came to help her sister out of the thorn bush. At this same time, while Alyssa is being questioned, a police unit that is canvassing the woods behind the Bustamante house has found a shallow grave in the woods. A grave that is the perfect size for a small child. A child the same size as 9-year-old Elizabeth Bolton. And now, for reasons unknown, even after suggesting that she's not a person of interest, that she had nothing to do with this, the FBI decides to walk Alyssa Bustamante past the shallow grave in the woods. And in this clearing full of people, full of detectives, police officers, FBI agents, Alyssa looks at the grave and says, Yeah, I dug that hole. Okay, so after the FBI walks Alyssa past this hole and she says, I dug that hole, the police question her again. Why did you dig this hole? She says, I like to dig holes. I go for walks in the woods sometimes. I'm really into nature. I like birds and I like squirrels and I like all of the woodland animals. I like bugs. I like worms. And sometimes when I'm bored, I dig holes. And sometimes if I come across a dead animal, I bury it out of respect because it deserves respect. It deserves to have a respectful afterlife. And the only way to get that is if it gets buried. This is what she tells the police. And while she's spinning this story, she's still trying to remain calm. She has started doing little things like rocking back and forth, which she wasn't doing before. She's nodding her head, which she wasn't doing before. She's doing the one arm shrug, which is, they say, an indication that you're being deceitful, because if you were honestly feeling like, I don't know, it would be both arms. But if you just do one, it's like I know something, but I don't really want to let it go. So at this point, the police are kind of starting to get fed up because they have a trump card. They have gotten a warrant to search the Bustamante house, and they have been in Alyssa's room. And they say to Alyssa, we found your diary. And at this point, Alyssa starts confessing. She says, okay, I was walking in the woods with Elizabeth. I was on a walk and Elizabeth came with me and she fell and she hit her head. It was all an accident, okay? It was an accident. I didn't do anything. She fell, she hit her head on a rock and she died. You see, Alyssa wasn't worried about the diary because while there was an entry for October 21st, 2009, the day that Elizabeth went missing, Alyssa had scratched it out. It was written in blue pen, and she took a blue pen and scratched out the entire entry. So she wasn't worried that they found her diary because they weren't going to be able to read the entry from the day that Elizabeth went missing. And while her story wasn't the truth, she thought it would be enough to pacify the investigation. She's dumb, she's 15. And that entry was easily recoverable. So the police officer says, Alyssa, we're gonna find her body and the autopsy is going to tell us everything. And I can only help you if you tell me everything. So are you sure this is everything? And Alyssa says, yeah, we went on a walk. She fell, she hit her head. It was an accident. And then the police officer pulls out the diary entry along with the recovered entry from October 21st. And every word that was written on that page is fully legible. But before we talk about the diary entry, let's talk about Alyssa's room. In Alyssa's room, and there are pictures of this, I will drop them in the evidence locker if you're interested, if you're in the Discord. Also, if you're in the Discord and you are interested in being in the true crime portion of the Discord, let me know so I can assign you the right role. But through these pictures, you can see that there are poems written on the wall, sometimes some really emo poems. And I used to do this. I mean, I never wrote on my walls. My mama would kill me, but I used to write like song lyrics on pieces of paper and just leave them lying around. It really disturbed my mom a couple times because the songs I was listening to, like Linkin Park had some songs that would say some things. My mother was a little worried. Alyssa had written these things on her walls. She had also written poems about cutting. She had written poems about suicide, and she had drawn some really disturbing pictures. But the most disturbing part of this is that some of these things were done in pen, some were done in marker, and some were done in blood. There's even a crude picture of a person drawn on the wall, similar to like a crime scene outline when they outline the body, drawn on the wall, but the face is slashed, some of the limbs are slashed, and written next to the picture is the word Emma, written in blood. Alyssa had fantasized about killing, or at the very least, maiming her little sister. But she needed a test run. So Alyssa, at 15 years old, convinces her 6-year-old little sister to lure Emma out of her house under the guise of a play date. Go and tell your friend Emma that you want her to come outside and play with you. Because that's not suspicious, you know? Your friend coming to knock on your door on a beautiful day and saying, hey, do you want to play outside? Nobody should be worried about that. So Emma does what she's told. She goes to get Elizabeth. And once Elizabeth is out of the house, Alyssa grabs Elizabeth's hand and leads her into the woods toward a small grave that she had dug the previous week. She told her little sister to go home, and that is the end. That is the last time that Emma saw Elizabeth. That story that she told the officers, that she asked if Elizabeth could come outside, they played in the driveway, and then Elizabeth left at 6, that was fed to her by her big sister, Alyssa. The last time Emma saw Elizabeth alive was not far from Elizabeth's front door. So Alyssa convinced her little sister to lure Emma out of the house, led Emma into the woods to the shallow grave she had dug a week ago, and she killed her. And it came out later in trial that the reason that she had killed her was just because she wanted to know what it felt like to take that power from someone, to end someone's life. She did it for the thrill of killing. And all of this was uncovered because she chose to write about it in her diary. And I have the diary entry for you. I'm gonna read it. Keep in mind that if you ever write something on lined paper with a pen and you want to later redact it, you need to use a black marker and you need to do it on both sides of the paper, okay? The diary entry went as followed. I just fucking killed someone. I strangled them and slit their throat and stabbed them, and now they're dead. It was amazing. As soon as you get over the, oh my God, I can't do this feeling, it's pretty enjoyable. Okay, I gotta go to church now, LOL. And that's the story of Alyssa Bustamante, the kid that killed for the thrill of it.